see you. Come in. Hi, welcome. And nephew. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everyone. Are you hungry?
I got to know Maria when I first started to give tours early on in my career as a tour guide. I found this little bakery on Lee Avenue where there was this lone woman from Ecuador who made pretty much all the pastries that were sold there, and they were so delicious, and they were like from home. Like, what I would say is Maria was like a Jewish mother from Ecuador. And as a tour guide, starting to find my way in the Hasidic community, it was one of the first places that I felt extremely welcomed. I feel like we clicked and we became sort of friends, and it was a highlight for me to come to her bakery. It was closed on Sundays, so I couldn't go on Sundays, but whenever it was open, I was really happy to visit. And I always dreamt of sharing the amazing baking skills she has, and to do something with her. We talked about collaborations. And then one day I came and the bakery was closed, and there was no Maria, and I had lost her number and I couldn't find her. And I tried to do a couple things to try to track her down, and I was unsuccessful. And I always was really interested in her story because the Hasidic community is in a kind of a symbiosis with a lot of Hispanic people who come from South America and Central America who look for work and find work in the Hasidic community. And there seems to be some kind of interesting symbiotic economic relationship. Oftentimes I see, like in the bagel shop, Hasidic people working alongside Hispanic people in what seems to be a positive relationship. And I thought that this is a side of the Hasidic story that is often not highlighted, the workforce that makes this economy click, makes the economy tick, makes it be able to work. There are many segments of the economic industry here that rely on workforce coming in from outside the community. One that is often documented in the media are the cleaners that wait on Division Avenue to be hired. And since there's been a lot more migration to New York City, there are a lot of women who often spend their entire day or days waiting to be hired for work in the Hasidic community. There's so much happening in this kind of symbiotic relationship. And just a small piece of like that human interest story is Maria's story and her enormous skill that she's amassed in making these Hasidic stuff, pastries, rugelach, kippelach, kokosh cake, babka, sponge cake, marble cake, like so many amazing things, sprinkle cookies with jam, like the real classics, the real like stuff that I would make in my days that sadly I'm completely out of practice on, that she's able to make. And I thought it would be like really cool and special to be able to make it with her in my own home. I'm learning how to bake Hasidic pastries from Maria. So can we do the rondo?
Yes, rondo and kippala.
Rondo and kokosh cake.
Kokosh, okay.
And maybe a few kippelach.
Okay, no problem.
We see.
Okay.
I don't want to get too ambitious. Baking with Maria was like baking on ×2 speed. Everything moved really fast. I couldn't keep up. She put in the wet ingredients first into the mixer, and then she put in the dry ingredients. She used fresh yeast, which is how I always made rugelach, kippelach, and challah. Fresh yeast is sold in the Hasidic community. I find it more difficult to find outside of the community. Once she mixed the ingredients and the flour together, she kind of eyeballed how much flour she needed for the dough to be fairly wet. It was much wetter than I expected and that I remember a dough to be. And then she rolled it out. Maria put a like nice layer of oil on the dough, and then she put a dry mixture of cocoa, sugar, and confection sugar and so on for the filling. And that dough could then be used to make several things: babka, kokosh cake, rugelach, or kippelach. I was really surprised that she used oil in the recipe. I knew she wasn't going to be using butter. The bakery she worked at did not sell anything that is dairy, and that's for kosher purposes. Dairy is usually in a separate category, and that bakery stuck to no dairy products. So I expected the recipe to include margarine, which is what I always used to substitute butter, but here we used actually oil, which I found really interesting. So there was no margarine in the recipe whatsoever. And we made kokosh cake, and then we made rugelach and also kippelach, which are the croissant shape. We did not make babka because Maria says that takes 2 hours to bake. I want to put it out there that Maria is now back in New York after a trip away, and she is available to make these amazing, amazing things. So I'm going to add her information in the video description below.